Hello everyone, we continue our story. September 1303, Constantinople, the Blackernay Palace on the Golden Horn. Byzantine nobility stared at the sea, where dozens of ships and galleys full of 6,500 Catalan adventurers were coming up to port. Everyone was glad to see the Almogavers. People in the streets saluted them with flowers, and a palace was allotted for their reception, and the emperor organized a special event. Intending to keep Rodger loyal, Andronicus married a valiant stranger to his niece, a beautiful Maria Asenina, and made him Grand Duke, commander-in-chief of the army and the fleet, thus adopting him into the imperial family. It was a giddy surprise for Rodger. His popularity and authority rose in the palace. The Genoese, the traditional ally of the Byzantines, who had huge influence on the empire, did not like this fact. Rodger faced strong opposition from the powerful Genoese. Some weeks passed, lost in dissipation, intrigues, and bloody quarrels against the Genoese. This was the first obstacle in his new adventure that Rodger and his Catalans would overcome successfully. Soon afterwards he crossed the Bosporus with mighty Catalans, joined local imperial troops, and Alans. First they started successfully cleaning the Turks out of the Bithynian coastland. After this, the Grand Company spent the winter in free quarters along the southern coast of Marmara Sea. In April 1304, they again took to the field, crushed the Turks at Germ alongside the Alans and Byzantine forces under Hranislav. They also rendered the important service of relieving besieged Philadelphia and Magnesia. Rodger continued the campaign successfully to the east. In two bloody battles, 30,000 of the Muslims were slain and dozens of Byzantine cities liberated. In pursuit of the Turks, the campaign reached the borders of Sicilian Armenia. For these exploits, Rodger deserved the name of Deliverer of Asia, but once he succeeded into the depths of the peninsula, he suddenly got mail from the emperor to come back. The thing was that after a short season of prosperity and gladness, the cloud of slavery and ruin again burst on that unhappy province. Plundering habits and arrogance of Catalans soon brought them into ill standing with the inhabitants, who complained that they were well nigh as great a curse as the Turks. The lives and fortunes which they had rescued they considered as their own. The exaction of fines and supplies was enforced by licentious rapine and arbitrary executions. These disorders made a disturbance in the imperial palace. Beside the violations and ravages that Catalans perpetrated against the locals, they had done other deeds to their allies. During the campaign, Rodger saw that non-Catalan troops were useless in fights, and they only claimed the loot, so he could not tolerate them. First, he started disputes over the distribution of loot with Hranislav. Then he ordered to kill 12 of his soldiers and even stabbed him with the sword, and was about to hang him, if not for the intervention of the Byzantine generals. Of course, they could not bypass the Alans, and soon a sharp skirmish occurred between them during which Alans suffered 300 casualties, including the son of the chieftain. Afterward, all but 1,000 of the Alans left and fled to their tribe, and still Rodger had the same excuses. Given his position of unchallenged military power, he started to show the signs of serving his own interests instead of those of the emperor, driving Turks out of Asia Minor, and instead of putting the emperor into possession of the reconquered land, he garrisoned every fortress with his own men, and raised and appropriated the imperial taxes. After conquering Asia Minor, he got a new idea, to establish his own dominion in Anatolia. On top of the outrage of that campaign, Rodger recruited nearly 3,000 Turkic horsemen into his army ranks. This even more worsened the relations with locals. Now no one had any doubt that he was plotting to seize the provinces he had regained and to reign as an independent prince. At last Rodger went so far as to lay formal siege to Philadelphia, because its inhabitants preferred to disobey orders from Constantinople. Then he sent his treasures to Magnesia, but the people slew his Catalans and seized the treasures. He laid siege to the town, but his attacks were repulsed, and he was compelled to retire. So here he got the order from the emperor to leave the province immediately. At the summons of the emperor, Rodger evacuated a province which no longer supplied the materials of rapine. In the late December of 1304, he settled his troops at Gallipoli, and went to Constantinople to demand payments for the Almogavars. The emperor wanted Rodger to march against the Bulgarians, who had recently attacked the northern provinces, but first he granted him a title of Caesar, which was the second rank in the empire after the emperor. Then he made him governor of Asia Minor. Andronicus was unable and unwilling to pay plunderers who turned Asian Greeks against empire, and by making him governor he was no longer obliged to pay salary. Since then, Rodger was no more a mercenary, but a vassal of the emperor, who had his own land and was obliged to keep troops by himself. But Rodger accepted the title, and almost rejected the proposal of government of province. For a while, of course. He simply said, "I will think about it." Also, he said that without promised payments, none of the Catalans would go against Bulgarians. No money, no war. So instead of payment, Rodger returned from the capital with the title of Caesar. He explained the situation to his army, and can you guess what the reaction of the Almogavars was? Yes, they rose up against the emperor. Join us in the next episode to find out how the empire will cope with the disobedience. And if you like our work, you can become a patron and support us to create more series like these.